All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Let me get this tweeted out here. Let's see if I can find my original tweet here. 1 second. 1 second. There we go. All right. And we are live. TV.com. Nice. You know, you just get so busy looking at charts, it's hard to get all this stuff prepped. But cool. Let me get that tweeted out there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, good. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. So yeah, let's take a look and see what we got here. Okay, so we got the SPX pulled up here. Awesome. So here's a monthly chart so far on SPX. Today, interesting day, right? Plus 13 points. A lot of that came from an unexpected gap up this morning because the futures were down pretty hefty last night. Powell released his a statement, written statement on, perception of the market and all that, and it was basically implied some sort of dovish, behavior, and so the market just ripped this morning. So, which is really great for us who had swing long. So that's a good thing. But anyway, puts the market up a little bit, and we've got a green spinning top so far on the monthly, getting it carry follow through from the prior month. So far, really interesting stuff. On the weekly, 2 weeks ago, right, we had an inside week. We popped that to the upside after testing that level, then nice breakout hammer. And so we pushed to all-time highs today, which is giving this week almost another hammer, but kind of coming back in for a little bit of a spinning top right now. So most interesting on the daily is today, kind of that 3,000 level, that magic 3,000 level, gave us a little bit of a topping tail today. So unfortunately, it finished green. If it were red, it'd be a little bit scary. Right, last time we had a red topping tail was here, and you got that kind of that push down there. But this is still, kind of constructive. We'll see what kind of tomorrow brings. I think it was more statements coming out from the Fed tomorrow. It's a big Fed week, so we might get an inside day again, and just kind of evaluate what we have from there. But today was pretty big, right after that gap up and that push to that 3,000 level. So that's pretty neat right there. Here's we'll talk a little bit more about these levels today because today's topic is going to be levels, and so right here, these are the levels that we provide to the Positive Trend subscribers and the private Twitter feed. You also get it for, in the newsletter too. It comes with the newsletter, for the beginning of the week. But these are, key levels, right, that we look at. So, we added 3,000 to it today. It wasn't, a floor pivot level, but it's also a key level. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, and we'll get a little bit more into the price action, the type of things that we look for when we're trading these levels. Okay. So, but in general, nice pullback here from that 3,000 all the way down to the R1 level, kind of came back up, found some resistance here at the R2 level, finally got out, right, then reversed and kind of chopped into the close. So a couple more days left this week. Tomorrow's Thursday. I always enjoy trading on Thursdays. A lot of gap fades that day, so it's always fun. And let's take a look at where we're at on the daily chart. It's a daily chart right here. Basically, new all-time highs, right? Tagged today. We couldn't close above 3,000, but we tagged over 3,000 today. Also having to correspond, we've been talking about this this upward. 1 second. Yeah, also been talking about this this upper midpoint line of the this kind of macro pitchfork that we've been tracking, right? So there's resistance here, a little resistance there, resistance, right? Now we're back up in resistance again, right? So not surprised to see a topping tail today off of that level, and we'll see if it kind of comes back, fills some gaps here, maybe tests like the support zone for a little bit. So kind of tough to gauge at this point. We'll have to see the price action. Futures are up a little bit, so we'll see if that gets any strength tomorrow. But again, more Fed speak then. So good stuff. Okay. So that's where we're at with the market. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and just kind of talk about these crossovers of levels today. Okay, so we'll go through a couple different concepts and then do chart requests and all that fun stuff. So here we are. So real quick, if you guys are watching this, take a minute to read through this. If you can rewind it, kind of pause it, kind of review this. Everything here is obviously for educational purposes only, not investment advice. So today, like I said, we're going to talk about crossover strategy. We're going to talk about price levels. Okay, so levels are horizontal prices of interest. Okay, so let's just kind of take a look, right? So what we're talking about is horizontal levels, right? Now, these are, like you can see here on this chart, not horizontal, right? So these are like channels and all that. And again, you can use these too. You can use these for breakout points like channels, but in general, we're talking kind of horizontal type stuff when we're talking levels. So, so let's take a look. So one of those such levels is here, right? So if we go, let me go. Let's just kind of clear this off here real quick. I think I've got a clear one here. Yeah, let's try that. Okay, so here's, oh, that's not clear at all, is it? Let's go to this one. There. Okay, that's pretty clear right there. So here we look for support and resistance, right? So that's one example, right? So here we go. This is the prior all-time high over here. Okay, this is a level. It's a horizontal level, right? And it's important, right? So when we get back to that level, it becomes very interesting to trade, right? And so what we look for is a breakout over that level, a key level, key resistance level. But we also look for confirmation, okay? So that is one of the key things that we look for when we look for trading levels, right? So this bar right here broke through, but we never got a bar that kind of showed you that, hey, this is really happening, right? In fact, it didn't even close above it, right? So this is a, technically, I guess it would have been a green bar that day, but it really barely closed above, that kind of price range, right? So this day here gave a little bit more, right? Gave a little bit more of a push, a little bit of a hold, and then gapped up the next day, but then pushed right back through it. Tried again here, but no follow through the next day. Okay, so these levels are really, there's a reason that they're resistance, right? Because they're because anybody who's short in these areas are going to defend, right? Especially if there's big money there. This, nice bar right here, nice breakthrough of this level again as it came back through, right? And got a little bit of a push, and then but couldn't hold, right? And it wasn't until here where it finally broke through, gave me an inside day, and then gave a push back up. And then here we are, then testing all-time highs. So this is a key, level that we look at, especially on the long-term chart, right? So, and again, we look at the same thing too at support, right? So here, for example, we have this level, and these levels are designed by where we bounce off of, right? Where we can see a pivot, right? So here's a pivot right here, right? Here's a pivot here, never hasn't been touched yet. Here's a pivot here. Okay, so this turned out to be a pretty good support level. So anybody who was shorting up here and then kind of came down here and was looking to get more movement on it, right? This is not, you don't want to short here when you get to this level, right? It's a very important level. And so this has never even crossed over, right? Well, didn't even have a chance, right? And came all the way back up. So now we're above it, and so we can look for other minor pivots like this one here, right? That was today's key, was to get over the, what high was this? The 29.95.84 it did, and give a nice 7-point push over that. So that breakout point there was work today because of the power, the momentum that came through towards the open, right? Okay, so that is just an example. All right, so next, so the examples are support and resistance levels. So we just looked at support and resistance right there. Okay, the next that we're going to talk about here is floor pivot levels. These are very, very important because we day trade these, right, intraday. I've done several videos on the floor pivot levels where we went over the calculations of how you come up with it. These are floor traders, right? This is what they use. This is what algos use too, because they know what floor traders use, right? So this is very important levels that that are traded, right, on an intraday basis. So let's take a look at SPX today and see how those traded. All right, and why and when we would look to trade through a level. Okay, so I'm going to actually remove the indicator here so we can. I'm just going to kind of clear the chart a little bit. I'll remove this. I'll remove the alligator. I'll remove the moving averages. I'll remove the cloud, and I'll remove volume profile. We'll just keep it clear like this with just the levels. Okay, so here today and tomorrow, don't worry, we'll talk more about trend lines and combining all these tactics. So here you can see the floor levels, the floor pivot levels for today, right? And they kind of just go like this, right? So we have the main level right here, which is your daily pivot. Right, your next one up is R1, which is resistance 1. Next one is R2, resistance 2, and R3, resistance 3. Right, these are the daily ones, the yellow ones. There's other levels we have too, like key volumetric levels where there was a lot of volume. Right, we have the weekly ones, which are blue, and there's green, which are monthly. So all are very important, but didn't really come into play today. So let's take a look. Let's see how we open today. Right, so if we just kind of go through the price action, we had this R2 level. We opened right here, right, and then it pushed. Right, it broke through this level, and on a day trading basis, this is important, right? We want to close above this. It's a very big green bar too, so that shows some strength right there. And then here we got a nice minor pivot through that level, right? retested the level right here, and that's important when we're trading levels, right? We want breakthroughs across over the level, but retests are always good, right? Can be constructive. And then like you can see right there. So nice, double kind of, thin, I guess, kind of doji type bars right here, right? And then a push through that. This is your minor pivot high, and that was your breakout point right there, that 29.96, which pushed right to 3,000. Okay, so then we come up to another level. This is a key level, obviously, right? It even came off of it really quick. The high of this was 29.99.98. Okay, so it got really, really close to that. That pivot, that level. It's a very important psychological level, right? And let's see what it did next. Right through it. Okay, boom. Okay, so that gave you actually the high of the day right there. And so very important bar, right? It broke through that level. It gave you a crossover through that level, but, right, it didn't give any confirmation after that. In fact, it gave you an inside bar. And so this is where you start to change sentiment when you're trading price action, right? So you have an inside bar right here, okay? And it still held the level, right? Give you a bottom wick right here, bottom shadow right at it. So it's like, okay, I'm going to hold 3,000, but I'm red, right? So I don't know, bears are kind of in charge. And then you get this. Okay, this is basically a momentum candlestick, right? It's a momentum shooting star type pattern that took this inside bar to the downside. You can see it kind of closed right below it. And from here, you can use this as your minor pivot entry, and then that is your breakdown point right there. So you can kind of just follow that down. Your next target would be the R2 level. Okay, and I got it. All right, so here, broke through the level, right? Very important. Nice crossover. But then give you another inside bar right there. Uh-oh, inside bar, tried to break down, came back up. Okay, so now you have a minor pivot. Now you kind of have a tweezer bottom right here, and it started to pop up again, right? But didn't give you a 3-bar, confirmation, which is what we look for for flags. This kind of chopped around a little bit, and then gave you this bar right here. So clearly, when you see a big red bar that pushes like this, and then through those levels, you're probably looking at more downside action, and we got that. Okay, and it came all the way down to the R1. So nice target right there. Pause, try to break down, then back up again, and you can see how this kind of repeats itself as we go from level to level. Okay, so didn't get much more action today. Finally had this bar here, was kind of a clean green bar that broke through it. Tried to push up through it. You could see it got a little bit of movement, but not much today. There's a little more action elsewhere today. So even here you can see it tried to get through the level, failed with a red bar right here. Right here, no confirmation, no breakout, and then chopped into the close. So that is a good example of looking at trading the floor pivot levels. So let's look at the next example. So next, finally, is chart pattern levels. So what we do too, right? So head and shoulders, right? We've talked about all these before when we looked at chart patterns, but these are other crossover points too. So your head and shoulders neckline, your cup and handle, right? Your ascending, descending triangles, things like that. And so without finding, a perfect example or anything like that, here is kind of an ascending triangle as well. In fact, we just use this chart. So here we have this, kind of moving right here. And then we can look at these on any time frame, of course. The longer the time frame, the more interesting. So here's an ascending triangle. You had your breakout point. So just you can see here, it was kind of ascending a little bit. Couldn't get out of the level here. Couldn't get out of the level here. Finally had your breakout bar right there, and that actually ended up moving up a little bit for us to give a little bit of a move. So, but that's the idea, right? So anytime you can kind of see other patterns, like so here there would be like maybe you could see like a little bit of a cut, in head and shoulders here, right? So here's one shoulder. Here's your head, right? And then here's your other shoulder. Now, of course, the day ended before this could finish, but what it does is it gives you a neckline that you can look at for trading later, right? So here's your neckline. You can pick whichever one you want. Here's just an even number, say 29.90. And so when we come back here, we would use that head and shoulders for a potential short if we got confirmation through the level. And you guys couldn't see any of that because I did that again. Anyway, so here's your ascending triangle. It always happens right at the end. Anyway, here's the ascending triangle, breakout point here, and then here's your head and shoulders, right? And then here's the neckline right there. So sorry about that, guys. All right, so that was that, and then it's important to get confirmation. So we just talked about that. So these levels are well known. Okay, so when you see these things, right, don't think you're the only one seeing them, right? These floor pivot levels are very clear, right? They're there. They're calculations that we use, right, on a daily basis. The head and shoulders, right? These are patterns that traders recognize, right? So they will be defended because they know that retail traders, right, professional traders will look to trade the opposite of a level to push retail out before it actually takes a move. And that's just not people, it's also institutional, algorithms, things like that are waiting, right, at these levels. Okay, and unless you can push them out, right, with some confirmation, you have to be prepared, right, especially intraday. And so we could look for breakouts intraday, and if they don't, a lot of times regional traders try to push through it, and it's they get pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and they don't realize sometimes it takes time for it to get through. But until you get those confirmation bars, right, it's tough to you have to trade the price action through here. So, and it's tough, right, because you have a big push through bar right here, and a lot of times people want to chase that, right? It's like, wow, this is a huge strong bar, I'm just gonna buy, right, as soon as I get through it, and then they get stuck because you get to you get to the point where they're trying to push it back down, and then you see this bar right here, and it's like if you don't control your stops and everything, you could get really, really hurt, right? Depending on what your sizing is. Okay, and so so just keep in mind that they're out there looking at these levels. Okay, so you have to get those confirmation bars that push through it, before considering an entry. And finally, know your time frames and your risk. So just like we talked about. So if we're looking for a breakout at a certain level, right, you don't want to go all in and YOLO trade, right, to get through these levels, right? You want to control your risk and know the probability of these breakouts. So you start to evaluate, once you find a trading pattern that you like to trade. So if you like trading head and shoulders patterns, you got to know how consistent these trades are for you, right? If you track them and you're only hitting like 50% or 20% or whatever the case is, maybe it's not the pattern. Maybe you actually want to trade the opposite of that, right? So till you can get that consistency up. And same thing here. If you're having trouble trading, certain breakouts, a lot of people like to trade like high of the day breakouts or low of the day breakouts. And guess what? There's people waiting there, right? So even here, this is the low of the day right here. It was if you tried to short right here, and you really had a lot of money in it, and it pushed up, 2-3 points, you got to know where your stops are, right? In case the defense was really good. Now this happened to go down again and push through, but you just have to be careful with that, right? So. Sometimes certain stocks, when you get familiar with certain stock setups like Apple and Facebook, you trade them enough, like sometimes when they're trying to break out of a key level, sometimes they take 2, 3, 4 times before they actually get out of it. You get used to how certain stocks trade, and that's kind of an important thing to know. So know yourself, know your percentages, and know your favorite patterns, and then you can, once you have data that you can control, you can control. You can't control what you don't know. Right, so that's one of the keys there. So anyway, that's basically all I have. I hope everybody, hope you find that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those into the chat window, and we'll get to as many as we can. We'll try to wrap up by 10:30, so everybody can get a good night's sleep, so we can have an awesome Thursday tomorrow. Awesome. Manoj, what's going on? Good to see you. Harvey, hello. Thank you for joining. QSB, good evening. Paul, evening. Good to see you. Good to see you, bud. Best kept secret. Good evening and fun day trading. Yes, absolutely. Sarah, good evening. Good to see you. Nikolai, what's up? Watching. Good to see you. B, hello. Wendy, good morning from Singapore. Good to see you. Oh, got Facebook and MU. Very nice. So Facebook was on the watch list from the game plan from yesterday. Just had a really nice bullish chart and traded well today. Got some nice fall, a little bit choppy there for a little bit, but like everything, gapped up. But what was key right here is your inside bar, double inside bar on the 60, and then started to break out over the VWAP right here. Held really well, couldn't get below the gravestone doji, and then worked its way up at the end of the day. Little bit tricky to trade today, but overall nice candle on the day, right? In fact, it left a little bit of a gap too. So going to be tricky. It's working its way up. If it wants to get up to this the FibFam-FibArc confluence here at this 211, 212 area, it's got to go, right? It's got to be like 1-2 days to get there, that type of thing. So maybe by Friday it could get there if it really wants to. So I'm tracking this. I've got these alerts on now. Let me see here. This is on the daily chart. So yeah, so I'm just tracking it, see if it if it breaks down below these levels, it could potentially be a short. In fact, let me I like how Thinkorswim has added this. You can put alerts on your trend lines now. So daily UTL breakdown. So we'll look. You kind of keep that on a track. So if we end up breaking down below this, right, we'll look for a minor pivot to short. So earnings are coming up pretty soon at the end of the month. Lots of earnings coming up. Tech, like Apple's, like I think on like the 23rd, right? Lots of stuff coming around at the end of July. So it's going to be really interesting. I think this is going to be significant summer month to see what tech decides to do and what the FANGs decide to do. I think it's gonna something interesting could happen there towards the end of the market, but towards the end of the month. But we'll see. I mean, that's my thought, but you never know. MU, let's take a look. MU with a topping tail today, ended up closing above this volumetric level. But it still ended up green, right? So let's kind of see where we're at with that. Tried to get through a lot of this kind of resistance zone right here, but obviously, found some resistance there, and they tried to push it back down. So at this point with MU, it's had a pretty meteoric run here, for MU, right? Had this kind of double bottom and been working its way up, been pretty parabolic. So I would look for some consolidation is pretty much what it needs, and it might chop around like this for a while. Right, so here was that last kind of topping tail it had that was similar to this, and it kind of just sort of chopped around for a couple weeks before ultimately deciding to go down at that point. But we'll see. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for MU right there. Heather, hello. Gerald, how's it going? Would it be possible to include TOS.mx links of the grids with the price levels in the newsletter for the Premier subscribers? TOS.mx links for the grids. Yeah, so I have to figure out how to do that. I don't know if I can include the drawing. I'll certainly try. Yeah, we could test it out later if you want to see if that'll come out. But yeah, totally. I mean, anything I can do to help, right? So it'll be. We'll have to see if the grids themselves. That'll be an easy way to share it. So for sure. But yeah, just DM me later and we'll try it. We'll test it back before to see if it actually works. Robin, good evening. Good to see you. SMDC4CF, ramp. Yes, absolutely. Session, what's happening? Xilinx. Oh, yeah, Xilinx. I have my eyes off of that one. XLNX. That's why alerts are always good, to kind of keep you, to remind you what's out there. It's hard to keep track of everything. Let's see. All right, so isn't it so sloppy? It's just so sloppy. I know all the indicators here, but it's just so sloppy. It's so hard to catch. It had that inside day here, and this is kind of one of those key reversal bars. It kind of went straight through. I mean, that was kind of the key move right there. But then red day again today. It's just really tough. I mean, short term, it's got like a little. It's kind of like an upward trend, but here's kind of like a little consolidation, kind of pennant type thing. It's starting to break out of there. Here's your mind higher. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, get above today's highs really. This level here, this 117.47 is pretty key too. Let me see drawings. Save this new drawing set. I was just looking so. Sure. Interesting. I'll have to see. I'll have to see if I share a workspace that includes that. But anyway, yeah. So Xilinx is kind of just basically right there. So I mean, it's just kind of tough right here. I mean, I guess above today's high, it could get a little bit of a push. And then take two. Da 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 da. Take two, a little bit of a topping tail off of the upper Bollinger Band here. Doesn't mean it can't get any farther. I'm just trying to see, what it likes to do up here. I mean, here was kind of a key for a potential short. It was where it closed above the upper Bollinger Band and your RSI was overbought. At this point, it's just kind of finding that as a little bit of resistance. So here it might, be working a little bit on some consolidation, but I think once it gets over, if it gets over today's highs, it could get a little bit of a push to the upside, as it's a minor pivot of that downward trend line breakout. Boeing, let's see. Boeing. Okay, so Boeing was interesting. We got fortunate on that one today. Here's your low. Here's your pivot. Yeah, so it's starting to break out here. I would say a push above, the highs from yesterday. So over 353.85, could start to give it a move back up. And then it might start working, try to get out of the cloud. That would be nice. Hey, Hardy, not seeing chart. Hopefully you can see it now. If it's fuzzy, just, on the On the settings, just click the HD. Right, try to get it as clear as possible. But I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes jumping back and forth, I just forget. I get all excited when I'm talking about the chart. So I know. I'm sorry, guys. Good. Yep, we got it. Awesome. I know. Sorry, Bob. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Occasionally it happens. Yep. Floor pivots on Thinkorswim studies. Yep, the floor pivots too. We've got actually, Gerald. There's also a if you can't share mine, there you can also use the script too, which helps a little bit. Okay, and I'll send that to you as well. Bob, yep, no, it was me. I forgot to click over. 80 p.m. MGMT, Goosh. That's kind of neat. Okay, is it oil and gas 3x? Yeah, gotcha. Had it started to have a nice move here. So here's your push here, minor pivot there. Started to break out here, so that was kind of your breakout level right here. This $6, say like $7 was key. It did push below that and couldn't get above it. So really, that $7 is kind of that key level. Otherwise, it kind of might chop around for a little bit. So and then from there, here's your it's kind of basically below yesterday's low is bad, right? So 595, a break below 595 is bad. A breakout over $7 is good. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on that one. And then Twitter finally got a little bit of movement recently. Started to push. Look at that. And then with a potential cloud break, incredible. Yesterday was an incredible move on Twitter. Right now, up. The trend is up until proven otherwise. So there's your upward trend line. So might hold on to this cloud a little bit. To see how it holds this trend line, it might start to break out again. Yep, those are the pivot points. Exactly. Oh, pivot points. Yeah. Is that there? Let me see what it does here. Is there studies? Because there's the PPS that we looked at yesterday. The person's pivot study. Pivot points. Let's see what that does. Yeah, it just kind of puts like dots and stuff. But this is the daily. Let's see what that looks like. Hold on one sec. I don't know if it does lines or not. Give me 1 second, guys. I have to look at this. Remove. Yeah, if we try to do floor pivots or pivot points here on the 5, if I go studies, pivot point, see how that looks. Yeah, kind of ish, right? It kind of does it, but it doesn't look like it carries through too well. But it gives you a few things. That's definitely one you could look at for sure, and then see what that uses later. But yeah, but I'll send you the think script, Gerald, if you haven't seen that one yet. So, good. 80 p.m. MGMT. Let's take a look at Amazon. Yeah, so Amazon's funny. I was just charting this a little bit ago. So upward trend line is still intact, right? We might be, it's hard to even say. This is such a steep trend line anyway, but we might be looking at a little bit of a bump and run here. So obviously it's hitting like all these key levels, but just kind of watch this kind of bump line right here. We'll see if it continues up, but if it breaks down below this, we might see a little bit of a run and a pullback in Amazon. It's it's closed over its upper Bollinger Band. RSI is overbought, so it could be due for a little bit of a pullback, but it's just been so super strong. Session Beyond and Starbucks. Thoughts on Diz was big volume that broke resistance, and it seemed like it still has room. Yeah, big push today. I missed it, but still a nice move. Beyond, I don't know. There's some chatter. There's some folks being bullish on this one, but again, still kind of. To me, it's just in this triangle pattern right here. This is kind of. Doing this. So big gaps below. Hard for me to imagine they continue to buy this thing up, but it did get over some resistance today. So just kind of see how that holds. Again, a breakdown below today's lows. Through this this triangle kind of area. Could start to see like some gap fills type stuff going on. It is A, B, C. I mean, it could have been like a shorter C, and it's sort of working on a new, impulsive wave up too. That's also a possibility. And then Starbucks. Starbucks held in there. It was Target, on the other hand, got that follow through the downside that was on the game plan today too. But Starbucks is starting to break down, and they got a huge push up again. Starbucks is just a monster these days, so it is just continuing to hold the upward trend line. So I mean, the pullbacks on Starbucks have just been so viable. And then thoughts on Diz? Well, the one thing that's coming out is the Lion King movie, and that thing that's coming out in like a week or so. So again, pullbacks on this could be really interesting because when they come up with those numbers, it could be pretty impressive. Now the question is, all right, we finally hit a high, so we can adjust the trend line here. Okay, so there's your new trend line. So yes, we are good. Tag the upper Bollinger Band, came off of that a little bit, but any pullback to this trend line, we can even put an alert on this. By trend line touch, right? Yeah, it could be interesting. And then kind of maybe get us over that fib fan line. Yeah, but today intraday was like real nice. If you saw that breakout today, it was right here. Oh, look at that! It was a pivot, a pivot area. Nice. See, you could use these levels too. So nice breakout bar, and then confirmation, and then push right through. A little bit of a pullback, but very, very strong today for sure. Netflix, Chris, what's going on? Netflix. These are pretty cool levels right here, but it's consuming a little bit of stuff. All right, there. Okay, so Netflix, take a look. So Netflix is looking kind of interesting here. It's been pretty strong. It's been, lots of resistance, in this zone here, and finally kind of popped to the upside. Really, really difficult work to get its well up with these upper shadows and lower shadows, but came off of this upward trend line here today. And so if you kind of go to the 60-minute chart, I've got an alert here. If we can get below, finished up pretty strong, but if we get below today's lows, I think it can start working its way back down again. So, a little bit of a gap here, right? So we'll keep an eye on it. It's got some cloud support, so it's got that, but I'm looking for a potential breakdown if it can't hold. FedEx, yep, absolutely. So FedEx got upgrade today. Didn't really. Here we go. Yeah. So FedEx got upgrade today. Didn't really like it that much. Here was kind of like a recent, kind of pivot-ish level right here. It's kind of been below that, right? So if we can get below here, this level here, this 158.69, I think we could push and start to see, lower levels here. So you're kind of rejecting an upgrade, off of the mid-Bollinger Band, big cloud over above. To me, starting to look pretty bearish on this. So that's something to look at there. And then again, if it pushes below yesterday's low, that's kind of that minor pivot low of this trend line break. And then that could get a little bit of momentum here to the downside. Here's your at this old price level right here, the lower Bollinger Bands. That's this 156.50 is a potential target on this one. Colsol, what's happening? Yes. Doing good. Gennardo, what's happening? Hello from Jamaica. Good to see you. Glad you could tune in. We do this every market night, so glad to have you. Please come back. B, AMD. Let's take a look at AMD. And feel free to ask questions or if there's charts you want to look at and all that stuff too. So AMD has had a really, really nice run. Here was the last, it's already got the trend line right here. So here's actually a bump and run, an inverse bump and run. So bump here, run, and then here's the run, running right through. So now it's doing a bump and run this way. Okay, so we'll see how well it can hold. It's a little bit overbought here on the RSI. It's closed above the upper Bollinger Band. So yeah. So it seems to be, might be running out a little bit of gas up here. Might kind of pull back. As you can see, there's a lot of support in this area based on all these lines. But might be due for like a little bit of a pullback coming soon. Albert, do you know if the heat map in TrendSpider are support and resistance is otherwise, what do they represent? So the heat map in TrendSpider. I have TrendSpider. I don't really mess with it too much. I will say, save that question Just a little bit of a spoiler. I've got the Trend Spider guys are going to do a guest appearance. One of our guests. So he's going to go through some stuff and ask and answer questions. So if you could save that for a couple of weeks, he'll be able to answer that here too. So, but I'm sorry I don't know off of the heat map on that. And Roku. Let's take a look. Yeah, so Roku, right? This is a nice trend line break here. We caught this a couple times on some 15 orb type plays, and then just got just super continuation. Here's that doji sandwich that was fun. We did a recent discussion on doji sandwiches, right? Big move doji, then that sandwich move up, and then now so here it's just been kind of following this. So bullish until proven otherwise. Maybe good for a little bit of a consolidation here. We'll see how it holds this trend line. So I'm going to put that there. Trend line touch, something like that. So let's see how that holds. Yeah, Disney, absolutely. It has a lot of potential. For second day, right? Yeah. He's got the August. Coming home and staring. I know, it's just so fun to look at. Heather, WFC, yes. So WFC is going to be, the financials are going to be starting earnings season soon. There we go. So earnings are coming next week, so 7/16, so it's getting there. Nasty little day today, little gap below here too. So trying to get out of the cloud, but not doing it. So we'll look and see how it holds. This also had a bump and run too, which we looked at last time. So right here's your bump from the run bump, and then it's starting to run down here. So just be careful. It's very possible it might drift down to this trend line, this kind of 46.50 area, and then earnings might be good and kind of pop out of the cloud there. So just worth looking at as we kind of move into that. Joe, what's going on, KL? Yeah, it's kind of a nice kind of engulfing hammer right here, so that's pretty neat. You can see we've been tracking this a little bit. We've got the kind of fib fan lines already up here. It found this fib fan area as a little bit of a consolidation zone, and seems to be holding pretty well. So a big move of that could eventually push back to those kind of high levels at 44.50 level. Definitely possible. Best kept secret, Google. Let's take a look. Okay, so Google is working its way up, right? Bullish until proven otherwise. It is, sorry. It has gotten over this pink line here and this red line. This is the 200 to the 50. So it's got over the 200, the 50 MA. It's in the cloud. It's got a bunch of gaps below, but here's your kind of recent upward trend line. So it is bullish until proven otherwise. Might pull back a little bit here, kind of retest those levels. It's been just so tough to trade. It really has been. I mean, it moves and then it just gives you these crazy. A lot of these FANG stocks have been really, really tough all through this kind of mess recently. So tough to catch a smooth move, but we do the best we can. And FedEx, yeah, it's good. Gennardo, what's going on? Yeah, what do I think of gold? I think it was interesting. So it actually got a pop today after Fed speak, and so that's always interesting. This just the fact that it has been in this 1400 kind of area has also been really, really interesting too. So it's been kind of going up with a lot of stocks, and it's just had this breakout through this kind of key 1330 level. Then 1400 was a key level, and now we're back over 1424. So big hammer yesterday, a little bit of a topping tail so far, but we'll see. I mean basically just if anything, this looks like a bull flag, right? Kind of bull flaggish here, right? So that's something to look at, right? So the best time to buy a bull flag is when we kind of test the bottom of it, and then you can catch it all the way up, right? Less risk. But if it does break out here and gives you confirmation, it might come up and test kind of this 1475 type level. Yeah, gold. And then Nvidia, yeah, let's take a look at Nvidia. So Nvidia is getting close, guys. It really is. It's it's just been so tricky. So today, I think we talked about yesterday. The key level was breaking over to yesterday's high, And so it did that. So the high was 58.44. All right, so yesterday's high, it tried to, it never even there's still a gap. There's a minor gap between yesterday and today. So it never even gave us that opportunity to kind of tag that and go. So today was a gap up, it pushed up, and then kind of came back in. So we'll see if it fills that gap. It's got a kind of a little upper trend line that we're kind of working on right here. This is off of the hourly chart. But if we can get basically over today's highs, I think we could see like a little bit of a move, especially on a cloud break on NVIDIA. Yeah, let's take a look at ATVI. So ATVI has also been really, really challenging to trade. It's given a couple decent moves, but it just won't go, right? I mean, so it kind of came up. Here's your fib fan line. It's kind of tagged, and then it's just been, I don't know, just kind of do it. It's really been really, really tough to trade. It tried to break out today and came back in, right? There's this right here. So basically closed right on this downward trend line. So interestingly enough to see, like, break over today's highs could give it a little bit of a push. I don't know how far it would go, maybe up a little bit over 48, but definitely something to keep an eye on. MG Cron. Cron gave a little bit of a bear flag here, kind of a breakdown, retested, kind of at the cloud, really, really tough. Yeah, this is kind of like a minor pivot zone right here. So if it gets below 1483, it could start to kind of fill this gap and everything like that. Otherwise, it needs to really push to see if this bear flag is actually a channel, and then get back in that channel here over 1590, 16, and then hopefully kind of work its way up and get out of the cloud and start kind of being productive again, that type of thing. QSB, among the 60 anchors, AMD, NVIDIA, Roku, which one do you think will be the most interesting for tomorrow? So let's take a look. So we've got, where am I? All right, here. So we've got, I think we have, how many do we have? Okay, so NVIDIA. NVIDIA is interesting. It is kind of below the cloudish, but it's still sitting right here on the pitchfork. So that's interesting. If it breaks high, then it could potentially work its way up, kind of test these levels, retest the cloud, this 162 kind of zone. AMD. AMD is also very interesting because of how extended it is, right? So why is this here? Oh, this is from the daily. It was just showing the daily bump. But if we go here to this setup on the hourly chart, here's your high, here's your prior minor pivot. It's breaking down below this kind of hourly, and it's an hourly signal, this hourly chart. So a breakdown below AMD could push and possibly even fill this gap pretty quickly. So AMD is really interesting too as a potential short. And then JP Morgan, I thought it was interesting too. JP Morgan is the only financial stock that really kind of you can have fun with, right? What I liked about JP Morgan is you have this inside bar, but it's right at the cloud, right? And so earnings are coming up pretty soon, so a nice little break there could kind of give like a little bit of a potential earnings run. So JP Morgan is interesting too. And then the last one that is interesting is Roku, right? And so let's take a look at Roku. And Roku's also pretty extended here too. So, but let's see, we have this here. I mean, technically that's not a pivot. So, I mean, this is kind of like there. I mean, it's kind of breaking down off of this upper trend line. So Roku's pretty interesting too. So Roku and AMD are interesting to the short side. NVIDIA and JP Morgan are interesting to the long side. Again, it all depends on what the price wants to do tomorrow, but I'm kind of looking at all those kind of that way. I think of all of them, AMD looks the most interesting, right? Because a lot of people have been pouring into it. So I think a flush below could get people kind of panicking out of it. So Gennaro, hey, no problem, my pleasure. Yeah, I know. I want NVIDIA to be the one. So, but yeah. Chris, yeah, AVGO. Let's take a look. AVGO, very downtrendy. Here is, we looked at this. This was a recent 15 orb that we looked at. Here's your low. There's your pivot. So it's trying. It's trying to get constructed. It's got to get over today's high to really kind of move. And I know this is the hourly chart, but this is sort of, that's kind of like short term. But you can see here what that kind of turns into here on the daily. It's trying. It's got to get over today's high to really move. And we had this on our 15 orb list recently. I guess it was down here. Yeah, these levels here. Nice fall through to the downside, guys, by the way, as it closed below the 15 orb. Good. No problem, Robin. My pleasure. We got Disney looked at. We may as well look at QQQ while we're here. Let's see. Yeah, QQQ. We can actually move this trend line because we had a new high to here. So again, QQQ bullish until proven otherwise. Good. Harvey, no problem. My pleasure. QSB. ZM looks ready for a breakout off the inverse head and shoulder pattern. Let's see. You said ZS or ZM? ZM. Sorry. A lot of people have been talking about this one recently too. So ZM. Yeah, Zoom. Yes. Nice gap up today too. Zoom has been really, really nice, and I like using it too. It's been a nice system to use. It's kind of a low-ish. Yeah, I mean it's trying. It's trying to get going. I think it can get back up there eventually. I don't know how it's going to do it though yet. It's a really, really complicated chart pattern here. But yeah, nice. No problem. B, my pleasure. Albert, Apple. Let's take a look. Kids still playing. All right, so here we go. Let's see, where are we at? There. Okay, so Apple's been kind of neat. So it had this. It has to push higher for it to get even more constructive. I know it kind of sounds kind of funny, but it's got to get over these levels. Once it could get a new high over here, we can move this trend line down, and then it'll look like this. And then it'll be like, yeah, super bullish. But until then, it's still kind of below this trend line. So a lot of caution is still warranted. It might, just kind of chop around. We'll see what it does. It's got earnings coming up also at the end of the month too. So Apple will be one to definitely keep an eye on after earnings. I'm planning on swinging it whatever the direction it decides to pivot at these earnings, for some sort of longer term swing, because just the way it just kind of moves, right? Because I mean, look here, look at this last pivot up here, nice push to the downside. Imagine swinging off of that pivot, right? Really, really nice. So I really can't wait to see what they do for earnings this time. So we'll keep an eye out for that. So hey, Karen, how's it going? No problem, QSB, my pleasure. No problem, Heather, thank you. And then Karen, let's take a look at Facebook. Take a look here. Yeah. So Facebook, we looked at this a little bit ago, but yeah, very, very bullish still. Upper trend line. I mean, very, very bullish till proven otherwise. It could in 2 days, if it really wanted to, get up to this 212, 211 type level. But it would have to do it, I don't know, pretty crazily. But anything can happen, right? So, but I'm looking for maybe some pullbacks to potentially buy. But it has been very, very strong. So it's tough. Here's your upper trend line right here, and so it's bullish until proven otherwise on that one. So, and it might chop around. It's had a really big move. Might kind of chop into the fib arc line here, and then kind of come down a little bit, maybe to the pitchfork, and then you have earnings again, and then that could catapult it back up. But we will see. I know Sheryl Sanders or whoever, the COO, has been selling some shares, but she's always selling shares, so nothing really significant there. I just remember I always look at Facebook before earnings, because Zuckerberg, remember this one way back here, like when it was at all-time highs before earnings, he sold like, I don't know, like $250 million worth of stock, like right before, like the day before, and it's like, I don't even think insiders were allowed to do that, but he did, and if I had seen that, I might have gotten a few put lottos on that one. So, but yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that, see if he does any shenanigans before earnings there. So, anyway, cool, awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I guess Shirley's not on tonight, but we always look forward to her analyses too. They're great. So I hope everybody has a great rest of your evening. Remember, if you guys are new here, definitely subscribe to us on YouTube. We do this every market night. And also check us out on Twitter. All the links are in the description. And then check us out on positive-trends.com. We've got a newsletter that's awesome. And then the private Twitter feed where you can see all my trades and everything like that. So So good stuff there. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Have a great night. Robin, yeah, I vaguely remember that one. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon.